There's not enough viable black male characters in the X-Men, according to new Marvel Comics boss Tom Brevoort. And honestly, he's kind of right. So this article came out in November of last year, and I'm just coming across it, but Tom Brevoort was talking on his Substack about diversity in the X-Men and how he's switching from focusing more on the Avengers and focusing more on the X-Men. And on his Substack, the topic of diversity on the X-teams came up, and he basically was just like, how do you find that balance of wanting more diversity but making sure it doesn't come off as forced? And I hate when stuff like that comes up, because it only seems to be when it comes to the topic of introducing diverse characters does the terminology of it being forced comes up. Does it seem forced when you have all white teams, all straight white teams? Black people like hanging out with each other. Gay people like hanging out with each other. Asian people like hanging out with each other. So it wouldn't be strange to have a mostly black, mostly Asian, all gay team of X-Men. He then goes on to talk about the balancing act of using fan favorite X characters while also the long-standing addressing gaps in representation, and says, just because there are some particular types of characters that I see a deficit of in the X line, I wish there were more viable black characters, for example. That doesn't mean that those deficits are going to be immediately addressed. They become more of a general guidepost for development as we go. And honestly, I agree with him. For the most part, you don't really see a whole lot of black mutants showing up, black male mutants showing up on the X teams. Or even like when you think about toys, like I'm using this Bishop figure as my mic holder. Every time you turn around, there's always a Bishop figure or a Storm figure. But Sync was a whole leader of an X-Men team this last go round, and they released Krakoan era toys. Why is there no Sync toy? Frenzy, Tempo, there's other black mutants and they never release toys. It's always Bishop and Storm. And then also on top of that, part of that of there being no viable black male mutants, a lot of that is Marvel's fault, because it's not like there aren't black male mutants that don't exist. They do exist, but you don't really use them that much. And then not only just that, with like black male mutants, mutants of color, black mutants, period, like they'll introduce these characters, like for example, Oya, they introduced, and then you never really seen anything from her since. Now recently they announced that she's gonna be on a team of X-Men, but look how long it took for that to happen. What about a character like Triage? When's the last time we've seen him on an X team? Gentle, another character that should always be in circulation, and he should definitely have a toy out considering the cool design of his character. If you start using these characters more in a significant way, they start to become more fan favorites and then become quote unquote more viable. Like look at the reaction that somebody like Frenzy or even Manifold has gotten in like Sword and X-Men Red in this age of Krakoa, but then in this new age of falling from the ashes, where's Sync? Where's Manifold? Where's Frenzy? Where's Tempo? Etc. The only black male mutant that I can think of that was announced on a team in this new X-Men line of books is Prodigy. Like, where's Darwin? Y'all used him in the beginning, then disappeared him, and he's been gone ever since. And we're in the fall of the age of Krakoa. You would think somebody would care about rescuing or finding Darwin. And also, when you do use and introduce and write more black male mutants in the X-Men books, don't whitewash them.